It is the afternoon, maybe around 2 or 3 o'clock, and your energy suddenly drops. It is not because of a lack of sleep. It is not from working too hard. It is just sudden, like someone flipped a switch off inside your body. You also notice your belly. Even though you are eating less, even though you are walking more consistently, it is still there. It is not budging. And recently, sometimes you are talking, you are thinking, and the word you need to find just disappears. Only for a second, but it is enough for you to notice. You have been told that these are 3 different problems. Fatigue is one thing, belly fat is another thing, and poor focus is just a matter of age. That is not true. Those 3 things are a single signal, from a single system. And that signal has been sent out for a long time, long before any doctor tests begin to detect it. That signal has a name, and what it is really warning you about is not your blood sugar levels today. It is about your health for the next 10 years. Let me decode this for you. There is a number on your blood test results that your doctor glances at for 2 seconds and then ignores. It is not hemoglobin A1C. It is not glucose. It is fasting insulin. That number tells a completely different story from what you are being told. Insulin resistance is not diabetes. Not yet. It is a state where the cells in your body start to no longer respond to insulin. The pancreas still produces insulin. Insulin is still present in the blood, but the cellular door does not open. Think of insulin like a key. Every cell in your body has a lock. When you are young, the key turns easily, but after many years of eating wrong, sleeping wrong, and living in a state of chronic stress, those locks start to get jammed. Insulin is still there. It is still doing its exact job, but the door does not open. So what does the pancreas do? It makes more keys, then more, and then even more. That very escalation, a state of compensatory hyperinsulinemia, is what we need to measure. And it starts silently, many years before any number on your standard tests changes. This is the most important thing you need to understand before we move forward. Glucose is a lagging indicator. It tells you the car is already broken. Insulin is a leading indicator. It is the warning light on the dashboard, lighting up long before the engine dies. And by the 3rd sign, you will understand why the A1C test is the last thing to detect this problem, not the first. Sign number 1. The afternoon crash. You eat lunch. 90 minutes later, you feel like your brain is shutting down. Not sleepy in the sense of lacking sleep, but a wave of heavy exhaustion crashing down right in the middle of the day. This is not laziness. This is not because the meal was too filling. This is early-stage hyperinsulinemia happening in your bloodstream. When you eat, glucose goes up. The pancreas releases insulin to handle that glucose. But when the cells are resistant, the pancreas has to pump out more than necessary. Insulin spikes too high, glucose gets pulled down too fast, too low, and the brain, which relies almost entirely on glucose, receives a crisis signal. The result is an energy crash at 2 in the afternoon. A 2017 study from Bristol University confirms that post-meal fatigue correlates directly with the level of excessive insulin spiking, not the total amount of glucose consumed. In other words, it is not that you are eating too much, it is that the processing system is overreacting. This is not fatigue. This is a hormonal signal. That difference is more important than you think, and in year 1 to year 3 of this 10-year path, this is the only thing happening. A wave of sleepiness after lunch, nothing on the tests, nothing for the doctor to worry about, but beneath the surface, the pancreas is working overtime every day, and the visceral fat cells are starting to receive the signal to store. But that is just the surface, because while that happens above, there is something else happening at the cellular level, and it has been running silently for longer than you think. Sign number 2. The stubborn belly. You have tried eating less, you have walked more, the belly is still there. The answer that most people get is to try harder, fewer calories, more cardio. This is the signal that most people miss. Belly fat, especially visceral fat, the layer of fat surrounding your internal organs, is not a passive storage unit. It is an active endocrine organ. Visceral fat has a significantly higher density of insulin and cortisol receptors compared to subcutaneous fat. When insulin is constantly high, an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, or LPL, pulls triglycerides from the blood straight into the belly fat cells. This is an intentional storage mechanism, not a random one. But the dangerous part is not the storage. The dangerous part is what the visceral fat secretes afterward. Belly fat cells produce inflammatory cytokines, IL-6 and TNF-alpha, which go straight into the hepatic portal circulation. They tell the liver to become even more insulin resistant. The liver becomes more insulin resistant. The pancreas pumps more insulin. More fat gets stored in the belly. It is a self-amplifying loop. This is not weak willpower. This is a biological feedback loop that your body is running on its own, and it will continue to run until the root signal is changed. A 2022 review in the journal Obesity Reviews confirms that visceral fat is an independent driver of insulin resistance, completely separate from total calorie consumption. To put it more bluntly, you could eat completely right and still not reverse this loop if you do not understand the mechanism running underneath. And from year 3 to year 6 of this 10-year path, visceral fat accumulates enough to start causing damage to the liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD, has no symptoms, no pain, nothing for you to notice. Just the belly is still there, and a number on your liver function test that the doctor calls slightly elevated. Let us monitor it. And that brings us to the third sign, the thing that most people blame on age. That is not it. Sign number 3. The brain starts to slow down. You are talking, you are thinking, and the word you want to find vanishes for a second. Or you walk into a room and forget what you were going to get. Or you finish reading a paragraph and realize nothing stuck. You call it stress. You call it age. You do not call it insulin resistance. But the brain also has insulin receptors. The brain also relies on insulin to process glucose at the neuronal level. And when insulin resistance spreads to the brain, neuroplasticity decreases, memory formation slows down, and your emotional state becomes more unstable. In current research literature, Alzheimer's is starting to be called type 3 diabetes. It is not a metaphor. It is not a suggestion. A 2020 research paper in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease identifies brain insulin resistance as a foundational mechanism, appearing 10 to 15 years before amyloid plaques form. 10 to 15 years. The memory problem that you are brushing off as stress or age means your brain has been insulin resistant for years before that symptom appeared. The locks on those neurons started getting jammed a long time before the keys stopped working entirely. From year 6 to year 10 of this path, chronic high insulin causes inflammation in the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and spatial navigation. Measurable cognitive decline begins to appear, not all at once, little by little, year by year. Your body is not broken, it is reacting. Everything we just decoded, the afternoon crash, the stubborn belly, those moments of brain fog, that is your system trying to compensate. The question is whether or not you will provide the right signal for it to stop. Step 1. Measure the right number, not the number your doctor usually measures. The next time you get a blood test, ask them to measure fasting insulin. Not just fasting glucose, not just hemoglobin A1C, fasting insulin. The optimal level is under 6 micro-international units per milliliter. Over 10, your pancreas is compensating. Over 15, the loop has been running long enough to cause measurable damage. You cannot fix what you do not see. And right now, most people are being shown the wrong number. Step 2. Reverse the loop with meal timing, not by cutting back. Insulin needs time at low levels for the cellular receptors to reset. There is no need for extreme fasting. There is no need to eliminate any food groups. You just need a 12-hour eating window. Eat within 12 hours, and do not eat for the remaining 12 hours. Here is the mechanism. Insulin never drops low enough when you are eating constantly from 7 in the morning to 11 at night. The locks do not get a chance to reset. The goal is not to eat less. The goal is to give your cells a period of silence so they can start listening again. Step 3. Use muscle as a metabolic tool. Muscles absorb glucose without needing insulin during contraction, through the GLUT4 pathway. This is a biological shortcut that you are leaving wide open every single day. Walking for 10 minutes after a meal reduces the post-meal glucose spike by 30 to 50%. A study from Duke University shows that walking after a meal is as effective as metformin in controlling glucose for people with pre-diabetes. You do not need a gym. You do not need cardio. You need your muscles to be active at the right time. Muscle is the most underutilized metabolic tool that you have, and you carry it with you everywhere. Now you have the translation. The afternoon crash is not laziness. The stubborn belly is not a lack of discipline. The slowing memory is not age. It is a system sending a signal, and that signal started years before you noticed. Now you know what that signal is. You know what it is warning you about, and you know the first 3 steps to reverse it. Leave a comment with the word decode below if what we just decoded matches what you are experiencing. I read every single comment, and in the next video, we are going to dive deep into a loop that is more dangerous than anything we just talked about today. You just understood how insulin creates belly fat, but there is a second hormone running parallel to it, and it does not just create belly fat. It locks the belly fat in place, preventing any intervention from touching it. That hormone is cortisol. And the connection between cortisol and belly fat is far worse than any doctor will admit to you. Not because they do not know, but because there is no prescription drug for it. I will see you in that video.